Welcome everyone to today's presentation, what you need to know for a successful start on DoubleClick Bid Manager. This is part of our Flash series and it will be hosted by Hanapin Marketing. My name is Jamie Newton and I am the Communications Manager for Hanapin, and your presenter today is Kelsey Hadaller. She is an account manager here at Hanapin. She also blogs on PPC Hero, and if you want to follow her on Twitter, you can follow her at khaddy_PPC. All right, real quick before Kelsey gets started with her presentation, if you want to join the conversation, include the hashtag ThinkPPC in your Twitter tweets. We will be live tweeting throughout the presentation, or you can use the webinar question box right there in your webinar control panel to send us questions, and you can do that at any time throughout the presentation. We'll have a live Q&A at the very end to ask those questions to Kelsey. All right, Kelsey, you ready to get started?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Take it away.
Thank you. All right, so today we're going to be talking about why you should use DoubleClick Bid Manager, some initial challenges that I faced when starting, an intro to the interface just to get a little bit comfortable, how you should plan out your strategy before actually getting started and creating any insertion orders, a few different targeting options, and then I'll also be going over some insertion order and line item setting details that you should be sure to check before launching anything. So why choose DoubleClick Bid Manager? It's actually a Google demand-side platform, so if you're really used to working within AdWords, this will be a comfortable start into programmatic compared to some other platforms that you might choose. There's also a variety of different reporting features, so anything you'd like to pull for different clients, it's likely available within the interface. There's also increased control in Bid Manager, so you actually set your bids and budgets per insertion order or line item, and that's because it is a demand-side platform. And if you prefer to be a little bit more hands-off, there's a lot of different automated optimizations that you can choose, so you don't have to go in frequently and make changes to bids or anything. You can set up different settings just so you can be a bit more hands-off. And some initial challenges that I faced that are pretty common. You actually need an account to access any of the training material that's provided by DoubleClick. So if you want to take the certification for the DoubleClick Bid Manager fundamentals, you actually have to have an account first. And that's true for any of their webinars as well. You can't get in through a login, so you might have tried to access the training material and it'll send you to a Google account login, and it doesn't come up as an error, but it just doesn't log you in, and that's why. It's because you don't have a DoubleClick account yet. And to create an account, you actually have to go through their sales team to get started. There's no other way to just create an account. You have to complete their form on the website, so it's a little bit more difficult. And then another challenge is just setting up pixels, and I'll go over that briefly right now. So if you want to track any traffic on your site, on any specific pages, you need a pixel on that page. And that's true for remarketing, or if you want to track conversions, you just set up pixels. So this is an example of a pixel that this account set up for all of their blog pages. So we named it Blog All Pages, enabled it for remarketing since that's the purpose of placing this pixel, to use it for an insertion order for remarketing later on. And then one nice thing about DoubleClick Bid Manager is you can configure your Google Tag Manager with the account. So here you can see we had a container set up that was linked to this account, and then we were able to push this pixel through to that container. And then you can see the text box at the bottom, and we actually inserted some instructions for the developer who is implementing that tag in Tag Manager. So here we just said, put this pixel on any page that contains the word blog in the URL, for example. And here's just a brief intro to the interface. So you can see at the top we have our spend, month to date or flight to date, and how much we've spent per day, just in the graph. And then on the left-hand side, you can see insertion orders. So those are kind of like campaigns for AdWords. And then line items are similar to ad groups. They're under insertion orders. Creatives, that's where you house all of your text ads, image ads, or video, and you have to have it approved through creative section before you can apply it to a different line item. Pixels, what we already went over. Audiences, whenever you create a pixel, it automatically creates an audience that you can use in any of your line items. So that's where you can access those. Channels, you can create groups of different URLs or placements that you're interested in targeting. Or you can also create channels that you know that you don't want to target on. So if you have found some placements that don't work well, like in AdWords or some different categories, you can go through the channels to create those, and then you'll use those as targeting in your line items later on. Back up a little bit. So you can see on the right-hand side, we have some of the metrics and reporting. This is just for the last 7 days. So you see impressions, clicks, conversions, and then revenue. Revenue is actually spend in DoubleClick Bid Manager. And then where it says performance, you can switch that to say pacing, and you can see based on your flight and the dates that you have set with the budget, you can see how much budget you have remaining, and then how much you've been spending on average per day and how much you need to be spending to reach that budget. So for example, in this first insertion order row, on average we've been spending $24.49, but if we want to reach our budget at the end of this flight on the 30th of this month, we'd have to spend $32.20. So this tells me I might want to increase my bids a little bit or increase my frequency cap that my ads can show per person. And then just some tips for planning out strategy before you launch anything. Know what kind of creative you want to use. So for DoubleClick Bid Manager, you can use either HTML5, Flash, image, or video ads. And then they have to get uploaded through the creative section and then approved through a process that takes a few days. So just know that once you upload them, they won't be ready to run within 24 hours. It usually takes a while. And then it's a good idea to pull geographic and location reports in AdWords so you know where you want to target when you launch your different IOs in Bid Manager. And then setting up pixels for remarketing. It's important to do this quite a bit ahead of time just so you can start building those lists. Similar to like you would in AdWords, you have to wait a while for those to populate before you can actually launch any IO remarketing targeted line items. And then be prepared or have a conversation with your clients about post-view conversions and post-click conversions. In DoubleClick Bid Manager, all of the conversions, post-view and post-click, are combined together in your regular reporting like that you saw on the home page. And there's a setting that we'll go over that you can decide to not show post-view conversions in that group, but it's important to see the different value of both of those. And then they also recommend that you research different placements or URLs to test for the channel groups, either to target or to blacklist from your targeting. Another thing that's important to pull before you get started is an inventory availability report. This is available in the reporting section in the interface, and basically you can just get different estimates of potential impressions and unique impressions. And then you'll want to run these before you launch, just so you can plan budget, frequency caps, and know how much you should expect to see in terms of impressions. And if for some reason you see that whatever report you pulled has a very large amount of impressions, you might want to segment it a little bit to see if it would be worth it to break out into different insertion orders or line items so you can better optimize your budget and bids. So here, this one is for a remarketing list. So we named it Remarketing Inventory Report, just pulling from the last 30 days. We broke it down by the specific audience list that we want to remarket to. And we're only interested in targeting the United States, so grouped and filtered United States and country. And then by clicking the group by box for region, when I pull this report, then it'll show how many impressions I should receive in the United States in this audience list, and then it'll be broken out by region. So I can see if, for example, California has a really large amount of available impressions, I might want to break that out into its own line item or insertion order. Now we'll go over a few different targeting options that are available. The long list is on the right-hand side, so if you have any questions about these, go ahead and enter that into the question box, and we'll try to touch on it at the end. So inventory source, you can include either specific or all available ad exchanges. What we did was we just targeted all available ad exchanges, and then you can pull reports after you run your ads for a little bit, and then you can see how they perform, and then you can change targeting afterwards. Apps and URLs, again, you can either target or blacklist sites included in your custom channel lists, as well as use the DoubleClick channels that are already provided. Keywords, this performs similarly to AdWords, so you can include or exclude for contextual targeting. Audience lists, that's just for remarketing, or you can also exclude specific users. Like if you want to not target to anyone who converted, this is where you set that up. And one note about targeting options. So you need to create your insertion order default targeting before launching any of your line items, because any updates to the insertion order default targeting, which is the higher level, will only apply to new line items within the IO. So this is really important because I'll just give you an example. I already launched or I enabled an insertion order here, and then I realized that I didn't set up brand safety targeting. But a line item was already created. So instead of setting up the brand safety targeting at the insertion order level, I had to go into the line item level and then exclude all of these sensitive categories. And these are not excluded by default, so you have to manually go in. And then for IO setting details, I'll just go through the top here. So you can set your pacing per flight to either even or as soon as possible. You set your frequency caps here, and then if you have any specific performance goals based on previous performance, you can update those here, and that'll show on the main homepage that we showed you earlier. So that's another option. And then you also add your different budget segments here. So I've set these up by monthly budgets, but you can do them at any different times, so you can see you have custom start dates and end dates always. And then it's nice because you could potentially plan out an unlimited amount of budget segments, so then you never have to worry about your ads not showing. And then this auto budget allocation box at the bottom, this is an example of how you can let it be a little bit more automated to allow the system to shift your budgets to better performing line items. And then this is a line item setting details. Again, it's kind of like an ad group. So based on the targeting that you have set, you see a potential reach at the top. The most useful, in my opinion, is the mobile versus desktop percentage of reach. And then for dates, if you only have one line item, or if you just want to use the same flight settings, you just use the same as insertion order setting there. And then for budget, you can either have different budgets for multiple line items within an insertion order, or if you choose unlimited, it'll just use your budget that's at the insertion order level. And then here we do have a frequency cap of 10 exposures per day, and then below that you can see that there's also a fixed bid of $1, and this is where you can edit your bids moving forward just based on performance. And then one last detail about setting up your line items. Conversion tracking is at the line item level, and you choose the different pixels that you have in place to track your conversions. So here you can see you can either count all conversions, post-view and post-click. Count only post-click conversions, so if your client doesn't value post-view conversions as much, you can just click that option, or you can also count a specific percentage of post-views, and then post-clicks will always be counted. I recommend just choosing count all conversions because you can go into your reports when you pull like a weekly or monthly report, and you can always split out the conversions by view and click. All right, I think we have some time for questions.
Yeah. First of all, great presentation, Kelsey. Thank you. So yeah, we have just a couple of questions here. So the very first one we have is, what's the difference between DoubleClick Campaign Manager and DoubleClick Bid Manager?
Sure. So DoubleClick Campaign Manager, that's an ad server, and then DoubleClick Bid Manager is a demand-side platform. So you can't directly buy inventory from DoubleClick Campaign Manager, but you can through Bid Manager. So potentially you could use Campaign Manager to organize your different programmatic efforts, and then Bid Manager would be your demand-side platform where you actually set your bids and budgets and pull reports just based on Bid Manager, but then you could also pull the reports within Campaign Manager if you want a larger view.
Okay, great. All right, so let's look to see what we have here. Okay, so somebody asked, I tried to sign up with DoubleClick and they won't reply. Is there a minimum MCC spend that they require? I am not sure about this. I did just a little bit of Googling while Kelsey was doing her presentation, and the best answer I could find was that it's based on a variable spend, so it's not just your spend. There's other factors that are involved in it. But Joel has also reached out to his Google rep, and he's not getting any response either. Do you have any advice maybe for him, Kelsey?
Yeah, I haven't really dealt with the whole sales process, but I've also seen some other comments just on like blogs and other webinars about people not being able to really reach the reps. Yeah, I don't really have a good answer for that either. Sorry.
So, I mean, Joel, maybe keep trying your Google reps. You know, that definitely seems to have a connection there, but sorry you're having that issue. I hope that gets resolved soon. Okay, so next question. Are there minimum spend thresholds? Oh, that's the same question. Look at that. Are there minimum spend thresholds to join DoubleClick?
We'll do some research and then we can tweet it out today, but that seems like a question that's come up across the board in terms of DoubleClick.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you guys want to, you know, keep an eye on the Think PPC hashtag, we'll do some research and see if we can at least find a better answer for you guys on that one. So what's the difference? Next question. What's the difference between DoubleClick and AdWords display?
So AdWords display it's very similar. The only difference is that Bid Manager is programmatic, so there's a lot more different networks and exchanges that you get into. So Google Display Network, that's one network. So if you're using DoubleClick Bid Manager, it's just a wider range of where you can show your ads. And the reason why I think it's pretty simple to use Bid Manager is because it is so similar with the targeting options. You're bidding very similarly. Obviously, it's a little bit different, and the interface isn't exactly the same. But yeah, they align pretty closely.
Okay. Okay, so how does the let me look a little further. Okay, so what's the advantages to using Bid Manager instead of AdWords? Should they both be used?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it's either one or the other. Bid Manager would be basically an extension of your display efforts within AdWords. So again, you just are able to show on more sites. For example, for this account that I used in the slides, we still use Display Network within AdWords. And once we started launching the ads in DoubleClick Bid Manager, our performance in AdWords did not change. So I think it depends on the different accounts. Again, you can run remarketing just like you can in AdWords. So I wouldn't say it's either or, but there's definitely advantages of using both of those just to expand your reach, especially for branded efforts. If you're missing out on any pages because you're only using AdWords, going programmatic is a good way, especially if all of your competitors are starting to do this.
Absolutely. Stay ahead of your competition there. All right, guys, that is all the time that we have for today. If you have more questions, we apologize if we didn't get to your question today. Feel free to reach out on the Think PPC hashtag or to reach out to Kelsey directly. And her Twitter handle, again, is at khaddy_PPC. Or you can also reach out to the PPC Hero Twitter handle at PPC Hero. or email us as well as marketing@hanapinmarketing.com. And thank you again. Thank you, Kelsey, for joining us today. And to everybody joining us, have a great day. Bye.